One. Yo, 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 my good people, we're back. I'm back, the greatest host that ever done this shit. You know me the best. Daniel Taylor, the king, you know. And today is the 159th episode. Yeah, I had to go back because I did the 160. Now I got to do the 150. So 159. So it happened like that today, but it worked out the right way because I was doing some other stuff. Lost track of time. Sorry about that. I had to do a late show in the beginning. And I got to do this show. So we're doing it today. We're doing it now. Without further ado, this is the In Your Face show. And I'm here with my good brother, my big brother in the spiritual realm, Mr. michealis, Jacoby. What's up, my brother?
It is a pleasure. How are you, bro?
I'm doing awesome, man. You know, had to make you smile, make you laugh, goof off, my brother. We gotta goof off. Of course we gotta do it.
Of
We gotta do
course.
it for the big guy in the sky, you know what I'm saying? The Heavenly Father. So, you know. Um so how's your day going? How's the whole thing going for you, man?
My day is pretty epic right now. I'm busy actually right now, opening up a bunch of, I guess, treatment centers and detoxes for drug addicts and alcoholics. But I'm really like revamping. My goal is to revamp the entire treatment system. Uh, and my extended goal is to like revamp the entire, American Psychiatric Association, the pharmaceutical industries. So I've got a lot of my play right now, but I'm very excited about enacting some effective change. So
Well, yeah, hey, man, as long as the happiness going, as long as you're happy doing what you're doing, and it's going in the right place, hey,
I'm in
you happy?
purpose.
Yes, sir. You in
You know what I mean?
purpose, and when you're in purpose, we all in purpose. You damn right. Yes,
That's
sir.
right.
Yes, sir. Smiling and happen good. You know what I mean. So, hey, as long as you happy, as long as you cool, you know, and that's something that you've been through. So, and I have a question on that. So, coming from becoming an addict of that certain situation, how was it back then when you was going through it? What was your life like?
Shit. It was messy, dude. It started off recreational, fun, going out to clubs every night, having fun, feeling fabulous. I was like a model for Model Management for a period of time, and I was just like doing the whole LA Hollywood nonsense. But at the end, I got to places where I was like entering places with bulletproof garages with dudes manufacturing methamphetamine and people with guns and guys walking to our house with little lunch paper bags with grenades in them to go blow up and kill somebody who owed them money, and just trap houses with like people using all over the place, trash hoarders, like it was just got really dark. And then of course there was jail's never great. And then at the end, I was basically looking at going to prison for 25 years to life for manufacturing methamphetamine. So it didn't end well for me. Although I guess it did end well for me, but it didn't. Yeah, it was interesting.
Hey, Uncle P, what's up with you, Mister Paul Dale Roberts? How you doing, brother?
Uncle P's in the house, man. I love
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thanks for putting me
Yes,
on.
sir. Yes, sir. You know what I mean? See, Mr. Uncle Pete is trying to get you up on the show all, for a while now. And I've been trying to get in touch with him now. I got in touch with him. Now you can chill out, cool out, and enjoy the show because it's going to be a amazing one. So,
love it.
so being, yeah, like you were saying, man, I've been around that my whole life, man. A lot, well, not the guns and the grenades, but I've been around, people that struggle with that my whole life. And
Yeah.
when I see that, it kind of, it makes me wonder, what are they going through, and it makes me feel compassionate for them because I know, yeah, I know these were decisions that were made, on personal decisions. You know what I'm saying? But not everybody, not everybody wants to keep on doing them. Some people want to get free.
Yeah,
You know,
totally. And that's like the confusing, like people who
yeah,
are
'cause it be like,
real addicts or real alcoholics or whatever, they actually have like a abnormal reaction that gets like triggered within them when they ingest drugs and alcohol that makes them like use beyond their mental control. So they have that experience of wanting to stop but can't kind of situation. Um, and then there's like a lot of people who just because of the nature of the drugs and stuff that are out there, they get physically addicted to things as well. So yeah, it's an interesting situation out in the world for sure.
oh man, that's why it's like, I really understand how you feel, man, because not everybody comes back from that.
A lot of people
Um,
aren't, especially today.
yeah, man,
Yeah.
yeah, like it's a lot of young people going
Yeah.
through that, and a lot of young people who understand, who knows about that stuff, but and were taught about it, but still indulges in it. And I think it's because of the generational curses upon their lives
Mm.
that have been placed on them at birth, well, before time, or not even before time, but because of the ancestors that have done it before them. You know what I
Mm.
mean? And those were like, just like, for example, alcoholism or domestic abuse, molestation. All those things are could trickle down from generation to generation, and it comes from generational curses that basically done upon one person, and it goes down to generations, or maybe hit two people, and it skips a generation as well. Just like good things go for generational. Like some people may get a talent, or somebody may become a millionaire out of the family, or somebody
Totally.
may have twins out of the family, or somebody may have, what I'm saying, just like something good, something bad happens, out of the family and everything. And that is why you have families that are broken apart because of those things. And that's why you have dysfunctional children, and that's why you have people that are going through the things that they go through today because of these things, these curses that need to be broken.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing though. Like what was perceived as my greatest curse wound up being my biggest blessing. So
Hmm.
anything can be turned around. It's just about like showing people a path and letting them know that's possible. Because I think people get wrapped up in the ideology of like it's a hopeless venture. I'm cursed. There's all this self pity stuff that gets
Hmm.
involved, and they just like kind of wear this like badge of damage as they walk around this earth instead of like understanding that at the same time they're also the most powerful being in their life too.
Yeah,
So
because because like what the enemy turns around for your worst, God can turn around for your great to your best, for your good. You know what I
totally.
mean? And what I've been through as a child, so I know, man. I'm living through and through. I know, living proof
Mm,
of what God can do, man. And if I could go through it, you could go through it. You can win. If I can win, you can win. You know what
of
I'm
course.
saying? And if you can win, anybody can win. It's just a matter of just perseverance and trusting in God and keeping God first, and letting Him do the work within you to continue to be better, and it's not an easy process. It's not. It's a very, very, very hard process. Um, when you're going through those pains and when you're going through those situations, you gotta steadfast, because it's a lot of things you're going to go through that may not seem like normal, but
Right.
You're going to go through a lot of things that's life changing. Like from what's your situation, from what you were saying. So what are the things that you've had to endure that that changed your life that God is using to this day?
Uh, I mean, it's hard to put a finger on like. There's a lot of different things. First, I needed to. And actually, the truth is that I didn't have to like really endure that much. I was given like a lot of misinformation in the beginning when I first got sober. I mean, in the very beginning, like I was like just jumping through a window that was offered to me, you know, because like I said, I was looking at going to prison for 25 years to life on a third strike in California. And I was just given a gift. And I was introduced to like the 12 step thing while I was in jail, you know? And that shit was not easy. And like in the beginning, it was just like having an open mind was one of the biggest challenges, you know?
Hmm.
Understanding that like my thinking wasn't working for me at that time was another challenge, you know, like all my belief systems and my decision making like was pretty invalid, because I needed to look at like the best that I could do with my life at that time was end up in jail looking at going to prison. So to kind of like surrender, the lifeboat that carried me through and helped me survive all these trials and tribulations as I'm out there drinking and using. Like my survival tool was here, and to like
Hmm.
be willing to let that go and say like I don't know shit, like that was not easy for me. So that was a big challenge. And then once I got sober, like I was saying earlier, I got a lot of misinformation about like what it means to be sober, how to stay sober, what it means to work a program, how to connect to God, like all that stuff. And I mean, my trials and tribulations were really just like getting sober at 22, growing up newly sober, not knowing shit about life, never really had a job before, never really had a relationship before, and just causing a muck sober and not
Hmm.
having like drugs and alcohol to use as my excuse for why I was like fucking up and hurting all these people in early sobriety, and not even just early sobriety, like a decade into sobriety even, so that
Hmm.
was like those are my biggest challenges I think in the beginning. And then someone finally put me on a path that really led me like you said to God. And that wasn't something that I chose either. Like God's interesting, like I believe there's two sides of this thing. Like there's the internal God, because I believe God is everything, so it's what's inside of me. There's some aspect that's I'm the God of my own experience, so I'm able to tap into that power. And the only thing gets away with that power is myself, like the self-centered human aspect.
Hmm.
But then there's like the God collective as a whole, because God is you, God is everybody, God is anyone who's watching this show or whatever, right? So like it's almost like the universe is constructed of, pawns that are conspiring in my favor. So there's the bigger picture that pushed me onto this path too, that I had no power over, no decision making in, no control over, and I just wound up here,
Hmm.
um, but I was willing because of desperation to practice it, and it worked, and it changed the entire trajectory of my experience on this earth. So,
Right, right. And that's the whole trajectory of everybody's beliefs. Whether it's going to work. To you, if it works to, because if it's going to work, depending on your beliefs. Depending on how high your beliefs is in it. Your faith. What I'm saying? How can like a car work without you pushing it? What I'm saying? Without you driving it. Or how can a car work without gas?
right.
It can't. That's your faith.
Yeah.
Gas is everything that you need. You know what I mean? It's like electric cars. If your car is electric, it can't go without any electric in it.
Right.
You
No,
know what I mean?
totally.
And so your faith is those little things that is little things to you, but big in your life, in the atmosphere, or just life itself. You know what I'm saying? And when you put those things together with that small thing,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes a powerful thing in your life. You know what I'm
Totally.
saying? And that's what makes it everything goes. full force, and that's why I really understand where you're coming from, man, because going through the things that I've been through as a child, as a person, like I'm starting to understand now what why I went through the things that I did, and
Like what kind of things?
understanding, like just feeling neglected,
Mm.
feeling low self-esteem, not feeling good enough, not feeling not being happy, you know, not being the one that I found my identity by basically just living. You know what I'm saying? By basically being disappointed so many times. I mean, I could tell you how many disappointments I got a day. Oh man, being disappointed, being treated like shit. Like, dude, like people, like a lot of people that know me, that know my what I've been through, they would understand. Like, they would tell you, like, man, he's came a long way,
Mm.
And what a lot of people don't know is this is a hard struggle right now to this day. What I go through because you know I don't bring. It's not what anybody can go through. What you go through, whether it's black or white. You know what I'm saying? You know, like what you're going through has no color on it. So whether I'm black, green, blue, purple, any color, you still can go through the plane. But it's only it's all as long as you can get through it and get out of there and come through it and fighting again. And the stuff that I went through is so like being not being feeling like you're worth it, like you're
Mm.
worth like not being wanted, being told you was ugly and being told you're trash, you're not. And I was always nervous as a child, you know what I'm saying? I was always the one where I was like, if I'm around big crowds, I get nervous, you know what I'm saying?
Mm.
And I'm like I'll start shaking and everything, not being able to, not knowing that these people are going through the same thing I'm going through, you
That's
know?
the thing. That's the thing, dude. Everybody's going through it. It's the human experience. Like, and I felt the exact same way that you're talking about. And honestly, like, my family told me that I was good looking like all the time. Like, I didn't get that from like my peers as a kid or whatever, but I was told that like growing up, but I still felt fucking weird. I still felt like I didn't fit in. You know what I mean? I was born in like the late 70s, dude, with like a afro and like giant lips and giant ears and like squinty eyes. And I like, didn't look like a fucking Ken doll, you know? And I just
Mhm.
did not feel like I fit in anywhere. And then like kids are bullies and just like all that stuff too. So it's funny that like the circumstances really had nothing to do with like their perception of what's happening and then like how we feel about what's happening and therefore like what we chalk the experience up to be. Because you and I
Right.
basically had the same experience with like different circumstances, which is wild,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, like although I was tall and big and you know what I'm saying, I was always picked on, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I was always picked on constantly, I would always be the one where I would be, just quiet. I would be like a sore thumb. If it was a sore thumb, if I was like one of those uh like say like if okay, I would be the one to stand out, like
Mhm.
right? And I would be the one where, what I'm saying, like people would just find me in the corner and start fucking with me,
Right.
and I never thought like some of the people that would pick on me and bully me as a child would be some of my closest friends
That's
growing
funny.
up,
Yeah.
and it's weird because a lot of the people that I fought, a lot of the people that I've, had big fights with and like, tussle with, they've all became cool friends of mine, and I'm like, wow, like
Yeah.
that's crazy, but not having see what did you ever go through this pain where you was like it affected your schooling, it
Bro.
affected your education,
Yeah, dude. Of course.
it
Yeah.
made you feel like, everybody was getting everything before you, everybody was getting the girls, the guys were getting the girls, all the girls liked them and all the this and that and all that and this. But
Yeah, I
then
never.
as you got,
Yeah, dude, totally. I mean, I didn't understand why the little short kid was like the cute one that all the girls wanted to hang out with, and I didn't understand why those shoes were fucking cool and my shoes sucked. Like, yeah, dude, like growing up, growing up sucked for me. Like, I
yeah,
really felt like an alien on this earth. Like, I didn't fit in anywhere. I didn't think I spoke the same language. I couldn't like socialize the way that people did. And when like kids were seeing movies that I didn't see, like I was like lying to them and telling them that I saw them, and they would catch me in that lie because they would like, make shit up to fuck with me. Like, yeah,
hmm
it was not good at all for me growing up, dude.
yeah.
Yeah.
See, and that's the thing, man. See, like like when I started gaining my confidence level started to grow when I got in high school. Like
Same.
when I got in high school, the ball flipped, and
Mm.
I'm like, what? Girls that I didn't even know started liking me. Girls that I liked back then started to become unattractive. You know how like when you look back and you start to be like, what the fuck? Why was I liking that person? You know, and I'd be like, what the fuck? Huh? Yeah, that became that situation, you know what I'm saying? And as I got older, all the people that would make fun of me, that would treat me wrong, would all look like, damn, dude, like even girls that would pick on me, were like, oh, you looking handsome. And I'm like, oh, thank you, thank you.
That's funny.
And it's crazy because my prom, high school prom, I went by myself. I had a girlfriend at the time, but when I put that suit on, it was ball game, man.
That's
I
funny.
seen my future self was like, damn, this guy is just too good for herself, man. Just looking good, looking, and that was the thing, man. That my life changed after that
Mm.
because like I still was going through the pain. I was still going through rejection. I was still going through neglection. I was still going through not being good enough. I was still going through that, but it was band-aided. It was a band-aid on it because of the compliments I was getting. I had hair at the
Validation.
time. I'm bald headed. Yeah, I had hair at the time. Now I ain't got no hair. I'm bald
Yeah.
headed. You know, but at that time, you see that situation. You see those things that really took forth and brought forth that situation of declaration in yourself. Man, I'm like, damn. Like I'm happy now. Like I'm feeling great because I had low self esteem. To the point to where I was like, I would let everybody just down me. Being put down all my life. You know what I
Totally.
mean? Because like, dude, like I wanted to be like everybody else. All my guys that I was cool with, all my
Mm.
friends, they had everything: the women, the cars, the clothes, the everything, and they still do. But the thing about it is, you know, like my mind was more mature and more, how can I say this? More mature and more uh how can I say, what's that word when like for mature? If you're going to say other than mature, like more
Mm.
advanced,
Okay.
more advanced than most of my friends. And I was like, why? Why was my mind, because of what I've been through as a child, you know what I'm saying? It caused me to grow faster, to see things grow up faster than a lot of people. A lot of people had a childhood. I didn't really have a childhood. Didn't really, because of the stuff that I've endured and seen and been through as a child. Like it's not good. You know what I mean? But now to this day, I still see that stuff in hindsight in my rear view. When I see that stuff, I use it as a way to build. Use it as a way to build, and I use it as a way to knock down the walls that was put before me and kick down the walls and kick in the doors to get my goals. That's what I do.
Okay.
And but I'm still, there's still things missing. And and I'm gonna be honest with you, man. I'm gonna be real emotional and what you call that, real mushy, man. I'm gonna tell you the truth. By you coming into my life, bro, by you showing me and helping me with a lot of things. You helped me see that, you know, things can change.
Yeah,
You know, things can change. Keep your mind on the things at hand. Stand tall, keep striving, you know, and like things are not what you think they are. It's more deeper than that. And man, it's a lot. You and a couple other people that showed me that, man, you just down getting started. You're young, you know,
totally.
and man, like it showed me that I could do anything. And
Of
I
course.
thank you for that. Thank you for being there, being that person that helped me light the fire up under me.
You're
Showed
my
me that I
blessing,
can.
dude. You're my blessing. That's the reality of it. Any opportunity that I get to have to be of service to somebody else is my opportunity to connect to God. So you're a gift to me, actually. And I can relate to you and all that stuff. Um, I mean, I found drugs and I found validation, actually, which I can relate to on that to sort of, I guess, in my mind, be the solution for how I was feeling inside as a kid. Like drugs made me not care about it. And I just like sought validation from people to make me feel okay. And what I didn't realize was I was like developing like patterns that, eventually became my enslavement. Like drugs, because of the allergy that I have to it, the abnormal reaction, that took me down quick. But once I got sober, I was still seeking that validation. Like how I
Mhm.
felt about me was like a direct reflection of what you thought about me, how you were showing up in my life, what I could get from you, whether or not you liked me. I mean, I'd had to deal with all that shit too. And, it's because I didn't, my life wasn't aligned with purpose. It was aligned with, feeding this endless pit of self, and that shit just does not work. And what I found was I was just a puppet on a string to the world. You know what I mean? You reacted one way, my arm went like this. You reacted another way, my leg went like that. And so I
Mhm.
finally got the freedom to really clip those strings where I walk this earth a free man today. And it's because first and foremost for me is purpose. My purpose is to serve whatever's in front of me, you know? So that's what I'm saying. You're my blessing.
Well, I I didn't even realize this. I didn't even know that I was a blessing. Look, all I was just doing was being me and just living for God, man. Because to be honest, like I try to be a blessing and I try to just do this in servitude. I don't charge anybody any money, man. Nothing. They would never tell you that I charge them $1 because
Right.
I'm not doing this for the money. I'm not doing this for adulation. I'm doing this for because to bring people to God, but in a different way, in a different manner of substance,
Mm.
and allow them to see God through me, you know. And look, I'm no perfect man. I'm not perfect at all. Like I never being like doing this show has broadened my broadened my horizons and took me to a whole new level.
Yeah.
You know, like seeing the big stars that I interviewed and all this stuff, and I realized it's not cracked up to where that I would. It's not cracked up to be what people think it is.
Yeah, of
It's
course.
not. And the thing about it is that when you do get to talk to these people, they're different, right? But it's not as like I love these people, love the people that I interview, but it's like it doesn't fulfill me. You
Mm.
know, it doesn't like satisfy that hunger for something. You know what I mean? And like me as a person, I don't know why I'm talk about myself.
No, it's all good, dude. You got to get it off your
uh,
chest, man.
I don't know why, but I feel a sense of of love. You know, feel a sense of love when I express myself like this,
Hmm.
because it's like, man, I have somebody on here that is a role model to me.
Thank you.
Somebody I actually look up to, that actually is a big impact. Has a big has a big impact in my life. You know, and and I thank you, man. I thank you for just taking the time and being patient with me. You know,
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Definitely.
you know, thank you.
People did it for me, man. You know what I mean? So we
Yeah,
just pay it forward, and then like when we understand that like really paying it forward is what is like the key to our freedom. I mean, then it's like great. I'm motivated to pay it forward. I want to give it away. I mean, I work one on one with people pretty much all day, every single day, and I've been doing that for like the last 14 years of my life for free, no money, you know, and it's great. Like I wouldn't change anything about it. And really, like my goal in life is to, I guess, just have a passive income so I could dedicate all my life to just being of service to people. I mean, that's really the most fulfilling thing for me. And also to teach people how to be able to be of service to other people and find their own path to, you know, spirituality, peace, freedom, all that stuff, you know, because I know that that's a very clear path. And I just wanted to lay out very simply for people, you know, so that's it.
right. You know, so I have a question. You know,
What's up?
so what did being a DJ play? Did okay? Let me do it a different way. Being a DJ, did it play a pivotal role in you becoming, or you getting on the substance, or yeah, was that a pivotal role that played a role into it?
I mean, when I first started going out, I, you know, was going to like a lot of underground clubs. Like back in the mid 90s, it was a lot of house music and stuff.
Hmm.
And yeah, of course there were drugs involved, but I really liked the music. I liked the dancing. I wasn't even like trying to pick up girls. Like I was just going there, taking some ecstasy, like smoking some meth and just dancing for hours, you know? And then what would happen was is we would like go back to our buddy's house and he would have like turntables set up there and records and you know I asked him because I was just curious about it. I really liked music always, and at one point in my life I was like homeless for a bit, and this buddy of mine let me like live in his garage for about 8 months, and he had a bunch of records and turntables there, and I just like lost myself in that, and I found out that I was like really passionate about it because prior to DJing, like women was the thing that I was passionate about, you know, like I was just like had to be with a woman all the time. And I remember someone that I was seeing at this time like came over and sat on this couch and like took off her clothes behind me, and I didn't care. Like all I wanted to do was spin records in this garage, you know. So I knew that there was something that was more powerful than women for me for the first time. So I was like, oh, cool. But then, like as my drug addiction progressed, like all that stopped. And then when I got sober, I always had this dream that I wanted to try it, but I knew that I couldn't do it when I was high because when I was high, I end up in prison, you know?
Hmm.
So, yeah, like my family got me some turntables when I was about a year and a half sober as a gift. And to me, it was just like this sort of side hobby. But then I was like, I want to really try it. And I kind of like felt like, you know, the universe would let me do that. And so I pursued it, and you know the doors just opened up and I, you know, became like really successful at it. And it's funny, like I spent so much of my sobriety in nightclubs around people getting high and drunk, but for some reason when like I'm DJing and like playing music, there's almost like a buffer, you know, because it's not about that. And it made me like a better DJ, I think, because like being sober, it's like I'm present in that moment. And to me, DJing is really all about like connecting to the energy of the room and being able to play to that and fuck with that and like take people on a story, no matter what kind of music you're playing, whether it be hip hop or house or whatever. And I wound up becoming a hip hop DJ later. And it was like the same kind of thing. It's like, I was able to like really sculpt a night and like, just sort of like puppet master the energy of the room. And that was like fun for me. I really enjoyed that shit. So, and I did until I did. When I stopped really enjoying it is when I said, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. And I was like still at the top of the game, like of my game at least. But yeah, once I just saw that it wasn't aligned with what I really wanted to do in terms of my divine purpose, I just let it go, without really knowing how it was going to do anything else because I've been doing it for like 23 years.
Mm.
But yeah, drugs definitely brought me into the group of people that introduced me to the music, that introduced me to the, weird apartments in downtown LA with the turntables that, you know what I mean? But it
Mm.
definitely did not make me a more successful DJ at all. It actually just ruined everything. So,
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's an awesome, what I'm saying, way to talk about that because, man, because our gifts really, make room for us, and I really, what made you, want to give it up? What made you like, say, man, this is.
couple things. I was DJing in Jakarta. I was opening for chain smokers in the stadium, and I was looking outside at these people and thinking to myself, I don't really care that I'm here right now. And I just
Mm.
knew there's like so many other DJs that I was friends with in Bali because I was living in Bali at that time who would have loved to have been in that position. I'm like, if I'm not passionate about it, then this is probably where I don't need to be. And then I was also like, I kind of looked at DJing as like I'm bringing people together for a party, connecting people, and doing all that stuff. But as I got more and more clarity, I mean, what I saw was like I saw a bunch of people high and drunk, and whether or not someone's an addict or an alcoholic, I really think that like drugs and alcohol, it has the opposite effect of what people are like told that it has. Right? I don't think it really connects us. I feel like it's actually a disconnector. And so I just saw like what I was doing was inspiring people to disconnect from each other. And also there was like a lot of agenda in the way that people were connecting with each other that I was just like didn't want to be a part of. And you know, I wanted to be able to basically like do what I do in AA, which is take people through the big book for a living, but I can't do that because that's like altruistic. It's completely free.
Right.
So I didn't really know what I was going to do, but I knew that if I was clear with the universe that I did not want to DJ anymore, which means I quit and I said no to jobs or whatever, that the universe was going to provide for me because I believe that the universe is always conspiring in my favor. It's always giving me what I want. I just need to be very clear about my path. So I'm like, yo, this is not aligned with my purpose. God, you know what my purpose is. Open up the doors for me and show me what to do. And it did. And it was wild because I was like, it was a pandemic, everything shut down, and AA started having all these like really big Zoom meetings, like 800 people and shit in them. And I remember I was speaking, I got asked to speak in a meeting that was in America while I was in Bali, and I was speaking on this meeting, and I was sharing about this little piece that I've written in my AA book that this guy passed on to me to write in there. And I'm like, yeah, I got this thing written in my book and blah, blah, blah. And I started getting all these messages in the chat, and they're like, yo, dude, where can I find your book? And I'm like, I don't have a book. Like, I was talking about my AA book, but then it was like, boom, the light went off. That's what I got to do. Just write a fucking book.
Mm.
And so that's how all that came about. And it took a little bit of time. Like, it took me about 3 months. And in that 3 month period, like a friend of mine in Bali, who's like this up and coming DJ, he like threw himself off a bridge and killed himself. He wasn't an addict or an alcoholic. And I just saw that, like, people in this world are suffering. And I think the pandemic and just all the stuff that was going on at that time was like a real, just sort of like all the pain and suffering of the universe was rising to the surface. And I really wanted to offer a tool to people to be able to get out of that. And so I did.
Mm. Mm. So, okay. So what? Okay, I got a question. Question.
So what's up?
So what was the most rewarding aspect of, finding your identity, finding who you are?
Joyousness at all time, my friend. So one of the things that was proposed to me was this idea that if I really understand what I am, if I really understand that I am the light of God, my spirit will be joyful at all times.
Mm,
And what that means is that I'm not michealis. I'm not the DJ. I'm not my parents' son. I'm not my son's father. I'm not anything. I'm just an expression of the universe, right? So I'm also not time or my age or any of that shit. So when I started stripping away all these things that typically I would judge myself, either I'm too much or not enough or whatever, I just looked at what I am. I'm the light of God, which also gives me divine purpose on this earth, right? So if all I am is the light of God, then my only job on this earth is to be the blessing to whatever's in front of me. So that simplified my life because I know if I'm practicing being the blessing to this moment in front of me, I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, which again is a practice because, human beings are operating from self, which is the opposite of selflessness. And selflessness is really the ideology behind being the blessing. And we're taught to champion self because, like we were talking before this thing started, it's like, I got to get mine. If I don't take care of me, no one's going to take care of me. And it's really surrendering that ideology because the truth is that when I'm living by that, yeah, I got wins, but I also got losses. I got,
mm-hmm,
feel goods, but I also got disappointments and resentments. So there's no emotional stability in living like that, right? And there's always the next thing that I need to accomplish to feel good on the inside. But when I'm just the light of God, I'm just trying to bless this moment, which coincidentally launches me into the moment, right? Because
mm-hmm,
I'm in the truth right now. The only real thing that's ever happening in any time is what's happening right now. So like right now, you are literally the most important person in my life right now because you're what's in front of me, you know?
hey.
You know what I'm saying? No, that's the truth though, because that's reality, dude. So
Mm-hmm,
launching myself in that present frees me up from all that thoughts of like fear and anxiety about my future or regret or shame or guilt about my past, and it just allows me to be here. And that's a joyous place to be. And then if I understand that like every single being on this earth is just the light of God, it's not just me, like we all collectively are to each other, that allows me to sort of let go of some of my expectations on like the mom or the dad or the whatever, because I will place expectations on people based on the roles or titles that they have in my life. But if I strip those titles away, that's not my best friend, that's just a dude, that's just the light of God over there. That's not my mom, that's just the light of God over there. you know like it allows me to be free and like walk through this earth with like a little more peace of mind and true joy. So that's what I'm saying.
right, right, right. So, you know, wow, that was a very heartfelt, very heartfelt. So what was the most important lesson you've learned over time through all of this?
Oh man, most important lesson. Man, I've learned so many, bro. I think one of the most important lessons is that happiness is a choice. And it's not reasonable to choose struggle, to choose fear, to choose anxiety, to choose depression, to choose self pity, to choose anger. Like, none of that shit is logical, right? And to me, like, what's most logical is to not only believe in a loving God, but to practice being the love that God is. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the path out of struggle. So that's a lesson that I learned. But I think that like lessons are cool, but self knowledge doesn't do shit for me if I don't have a practice. So I'd say that the practice of it and being diligent and consistent about it with volume is like the most important part of that.
Mm, true, very true, very true. And that's very, very honest about very honest with what you're saying. You know what I mean? Because Not everybody has that understanding. You know what I mean? Not everybody has that sequence of seeing that situation that you're going through.
Yeah.
Pe- People only know about what you tell them sometimes, rather than what they're seeing. You know what I'm saying? People don't always see it. You have to tell them sometime, most of the time now. I don't know why, but
Totally. Well, and they
um,
don't know how to do it too. That's the thing.
right.
It's like it hasn't been laid out for a lot of people about how to actually do this shit, you know, how to actually live peacefully, how to actually connect to God. Like they say that you should do that. And a lot of people say, I believe in that. But to actually like be connected to that and live in conscious contact with that idea, that's a challenge for most people. They don't understand what the practice is, but I feel very blessed that that shit was just laid out to me very simply, and I have a very simple practice that I do, which I've now like offered to everybody else.
Mhm. Yeah, that's just very very true. And I'm like, man, like I've actually had the chance to really read chapter one of this book, man. It's called The Spiritual Revolution: A Precise Path to Personal Peace.
Yeah.
And this book is a great tool to help you to really, begin to take that journey and onto getting to know God, you know, finding the personal peace within yourself. Because a lot of people say, "Oh, I got to protect my peace." How can you, how can you say you have peace without knowing God, which is the true peace? You know what I'm saying? If you, how can you say you have peace if you never knew what real true peace is about? You don't know the definition of peace. You
When a
don't
lot of
even know.
people just like cut people off and out of their lives to protect their peace, it's just like something they say as an excuse to just sever ties. But like the path to personal peace is actually the same path to universal peace. So like it's needed because if this whole process is about like connecting one person to another and having like an intimate and vulnerable and authentic conversation, right? And trying to be the blessing to another human being, trying to be loving kindness, right? Like if everybody started practicing with that each other, like that butterfly effect, like we wouldn't be dealing with the shit that we got going on right now. Like
Hmm.
that shit's chaos, dude. And I remember like, I was DJing in a place in Jakarta, and where I was playing, there was a lot of like um, politicians and dignitaries from different Arabic countries, Palestinian too, and everything. And my adopted dad was like, or is still, because he's still alive. I mean, he's like an Israeli Zionist. He was like a career military, like crazy fucking gnarly dude. And, I was like brought up with this like weird ideology around that stuff. And I remember, you know, I've been practicing this way of life for a long time. So all that's like disappeared from me. I don't see any difference between any people. And I think borders and countries and all that stuff is nonsense. But I remember like, sitting down and talking to these people who I was brought up to believe were the enemy. And we'd have these like great conversations and intimate conversations and see that just like, you and I in this conversation, realize that like we could have different circumstances, but the same experiences and feelings or whatever.
Hmm.
And, by the end of the conversation, we'd like know each other, hug each other, laugh, and we make a joke like this is world peace right here. It's just one
Hmm.
person at a time connecting to another. But
Right.
like, yeah, it doesn't have to be this like grand, like we're fucking moving pawns in countries, whatever. It's literally just me talking to you, you talking to seven other people, me talking to 30. You know what I mean? That's all it is. That's the
Yeah.
simplicity of it.
That's how peace is brought about. And that's how peace is created
Totally.
by loving oneself and loving your brother.
Yeah.
You know, loving your brother and showing them true love. That's peace within it, within love.
Yeah, of
And
course.
when a person says to me, "Oh, I got to protect my peace," how can you say you got to protect it You couldn't. You shouldn't. You shouldn't have to protect something that you never had. You know what I'm saying?
That's funny.
Like you shouldn't have to protect it if it's not true peace if you can't if you have to protect it. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Peace
Yeah,
comes from
totally.
within. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Peace comes from within. How can you say that you have peace if you have to protect that peace? Like that's like
Right.
have to protect, having to protect something that you never had. It's like saying after like me as a man, I got to protect this woman. How can I protect that woman, if I never had that woman? How can I say I love you to a woman if you know what I'm saying? If that love, how can I say I love you if if I don't have it? Like I'm just saying, it just trying to put the shit together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
But
mean it, you want to talk about love, like saying love or feeling love doesn't mean shit either. It's like, is my action loving? You
right,
know, that's really
right.
what it is.
It's like a lot of folks are so caught up on this, you know, distant love and person love. Love is the same always and forever, whether it's in person, whether it's distant. Like it's just weird, man. Like that's why people don't even know what true love is. How can you say you love this person if you don't know what it is?
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, people attach ownership to love. They attach like possessiveness to love. They attach expectation to love. And to me, love is really like, unconditional support and care for another person's happiness. There's no attachment there. There's no possession there. There's no expectation there. It's just, I want you to be fucking happy, whether that includes me in your life or not. Like, it's all good, you know?
Well, nowadays people don't have that kind of love, and that's the hardest part. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like the kind of love that's in this world today is what can I do for what can that person what can I get out of you, and what
Right.
can you do for me? And if you don't give it to me, you're a fucking asshole. You're a bitch. You're this. You're that. You're trash. You're not that. And and when you people say they support you, but they don't want to. They don't really support you. You know what I'm saying? Support is not all about money. It's about being there when they need you, being there when you still have a show, or being there when you having a down time. That's true love. True love is being there to conquer that pain or conquer that situation that you're going through with that person. If your
Right.
brother is going through something, go through it with them. Be there with them. If your sister is crying about a loved one, be there. Cry with her. Feel a true friend is not a person that feels everything their friend is going through. You feel it. You become one with them. That's what true friendship is. That's what love, and that's what true peace is. True peace is calmness, calm before the storm. Calm within the storm as well. And as
Most
long as you
importantly.
can conquer that storm through the peace that you have within, then you can conquer any and everything. You know.
And if you're like living a purpose of being the blessing, right? Which means that you're driving towards a practice of peace, what you begin to realize is that there is no storm. Storm is just a
All right.
matter of perception, which again is a choice, which again, happiness is also a choice. And the other thing is that, you know, I serve people without expectation of reciprocation from them. I believe the universe as a whole is serving me at all times. So I don't have expectations on friends showing up for me or doing things for me if I'm hurting, which is like very rare that I'm hurting, because like that person who shows up for me may not even be someone that I know very well, but the universe
Yeah.
always provides like somebody to like take care of me. I mean, there's people that have like literally saved me from like, serious health issues that I'd never met before, So if I'm like getting upset with this person because I chose you, you needed to be the person to show up for me, like I'm just getting upset. I'm just like having
Exactly.
emotional manageability over nothing when the universe is giving me all this gifts over here. It's like, who fucking cares, dude? You know what I mean? Everyone has
Right.
their time.
And that's why, some of the people that we think that we choose to be there for us are not even the ones that are going to be there. It's the ones that
Heck,
God bring in their life to be there. You know what
totally,
I'm
man.
saying?
And I don't choose anyone to be there for me. And, the
Yeah.
people that are there for me, I'm grateful for. But it's almost like a rotating, like smorgasbord of
Yeah.
people that just keep showing up. It's all good.
Yeah. That's why, I'm happy that I get to do this show and I get to see the smiles on the people's faces. It's a joy for me. And this is actually therapy for me.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Like, this is actually because hearing people's stories and being able to see them smiling and having fun and being able to calm them down when they say they're nervous, and being able to do these things bring joy to my heart. You know,
Totally.
like,
Yeah,
it brings joy to my heart because it's like seeing a baby being firstborn and it's yours. And it's like, man, like, and that's what, when I see people's faces, is like, on my show, I get to see the first smiles of people smiling, people getting their books out, people getting their projects out, and people thanking you. And it's not to thank me, thank God, because He put me in a position to give this to you,
yeah,
to give you
totally.
this chance. He
Yeah,
did this, not me. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? I'm not here to be thanked. I'm not. I'm just here to be a blessing. I love
totally.
people. You know, even though they get on my nerves sometimes, but I love them.
Yeah,
You
no
know,
doubt.
but yeah, I mean, but while okay, I have a question for you. While
So
doing your book and writing your book, do as that process where you're doing your book, what kind of things were you going through during while writing your book?
I had just retired from DJing. Pandemic was happening. I was like my friend killed himself, and I was still helping people every single day. Like that's what I did, and I saw the difference between like how I was doing emotionally, I guess spiritually, versus what a lot of my friends or even people I didn't even know were going through. And I've always had like a little feeling of like separation in that way from people in general. Like I never really was one to like go with the flock. But like there was a big difference that time. So, you know, it's funny, dude. When I sat down to write the book, it just flowed out of me. Like in 10 days, I wrote like the original manuscript of it. It just came
Mm,
out, you know? Because I've been practicing that path. By the time I wrote the book, I've been practicing it for about 10 or 11 years. So it was very clear, like what the book was, like the structure of it, how it was going to lay it out, like, um, and the message was like super clear. So I think the hardest part of that book was writing some of like my personal story piece, which is like an exercise in the book. It's not like writing it for vanity or whatever. It's a has a purpose to it. But I think that was the most challenging thing because I had to like describe things and that I had shoved away, you know, a long time ago and kind of moved past and to kind of get in the details of retelling that story was like an interesting process. And then there was obviously some fear, am I telling too much? Like, because I got very vulnerable in it, very honest for the sake of, showing people that like it's okay to be a human being, because if people, the whole purpose of the book is like one person reading with another. Well, as many people as they possibly can. And
right.
so it asks like really personal questions. And if you share it with another human being, which means that I need to share my really personal stuff too, to allow people to also feel comfortable to be vulnerable with the people they're reading it with, and so on and so on. So that's the purpose. It's really about like vulnerability. It's about authenticity with the people that you read it with. But yeah, I mean, there was times where I was like, "Fuck, do I really need to write this? Do I really need to talk about this?" Like, because pride was coming in. It's like I don't want to look bad, But then I was
Mm,
just like, "Fuck it, dude. I'm not gonna try to make myself look good at all. I'm just gonna be fully honest about what I was thinking and what I was feeling at the time, and you know, yeah." So it was an interesting process. And so I wrote it, and then I came back to LA because I wrote it in Bali. I came back to LA probably a year later or so, I think, or somewhere around there, 7, 8 months, whatever. And, you know, I didn't wind up publishing it until about a year and a half into me being in Los Angeles, and a lot had happened in between that space. So then I had to go back and like add stuff, and I had to like rewrite some concepts because as I'm in my own personal practice, which is what this book is, it's what the practice is and a tool to do that practice. I was growing, you know? And so my ideas around life have changed. I'm sure if I rewrote this book 10 years from now, it would be a different book. So it's a interesting evolutionary process, which also means that, it has the longevity to work consistently for, everybody at any different time of their lives. So it's cool.
mm. Well, yeah, I can very understand that, man.
Yeah,
Hold up. We have a comment in the box.
we do.
Yeah,
Yeah, we really can consider us blessed for sure.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Like that's why I always stress to the people that watch the show and people that's on the show. I love doing this. I love it. Like as I'm doing this show, it's like when I started. Okay, I'm gonna go to a different subject. When I was doing my first comic book called Jarhead,
Mhm.
I was going through a lot with that setbacks after setback after setback. You know, trials and tribulations, spiritual warfare, constantly, constantly, constantly being held back, being told can't do this, can't do that, and then and that's when I realized, man, like as I was going through that, I got done the book. It took
Yeah,
me a lot of money to do it, but I got it done.
right.
And I was proud of it, because I went through the battles that I was talking about, and I was seeing myself within the battle as I was speaking, as I was
Yeah,
writing this out, and a lot of things that I go through when I'm writing my stories out is I visualize myself within them, and a lot of those stories are part of my life, stuff what I've went through, and God always told me, He says, out of all your books, out of all the stories that I give you, write every story, become one with it, you
right,
know, and put yourself in it and visualize it all, you know, replay it in your mind, and put yourself in those positions as a character, and create characters that's based on sides of you and your personality and what you see, what you've seen, what you've
right,
been through in your life. And that's what I do, and Jarhead comes from the side of me, the war side of me, the battle side of me, the the romantic side of me, because he has a weakness for women, you know. So you know,
yeah,
and he's a very grumpy type of person. Reason why is because he grew up being picked on and grew up being told, you'll never find he didn't grow up with his parents anymore.
mm,
In his teens, he lost his parents in his teenage years. So he
mm,
didn't grow up with a father. So he had to be taught. He had to teach himself how to do some things. Although, Jarhead is very much strong in his thoughts and in his mind. and along the way of finding the killing of his parents, he finds God, and that's how he learns his purpose. That's how he learns his identity of who he is. You know,
That's
that's
cool.
how I learned my identity and
Right.
finding God and all that stuff. But enough about me.
Come on. It's
Enough
all
about
good,
me.
dude.
So tell the people about you know one of the most important parts of the of your book that you've basically that really relates to you.
I mean, I I don't think any of that's important, to be honest with you. I think the most important thing about that book is utilizing it as a tool to get outside of self, you know? Because the thing is that like every sentence in that book is a potential conversation piece. And so, every sentence has the potential to be the most important sentence that anyone ever read in that one moment that they read it with that one person. And no one knows what that's going to be unless they keep reading it, right? So
Hmm.
it's kind of like irrelevant what's important to me because truthfully, I think it's all important to me. I think the idea of bringing like logic and a grounding to the idea of spirituality is important because I think for a lot of people, God and spirituality is a little bit elusive, or it's like, it seems like hard to grasp, right? And I think like having like a real practical application of like spiritual growth that you can implement every day simply in your life, I think is probably like the most important gift that I can give anybody in this world, you know? So that book is like really, in some ways, it's like my legacy, I guess, on this earth. It's like my biggest contribution, as a whole, just as a tool,
Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
We have a comment from Catherine. Yes, they can change it, but it really doesn't matter. It doesn't make it easier. I'm not talking about drugs, but some years of being chased around stupid hormones.
Yeah.
I
Hormones
mean,
are,
hey,
are rough.
yeah, I mean, hey, I mean, you live and you learn, you grow and you overcome, and those are things that we as people begin to understand, And when I read, chapter one of the spiritual revolution is pride.
Mm,
And that really hit home with me because, you know, before I learned my purpose and before I gained all this knowledge of who I am, I used to allow pride to move within me, you know what I'm saying? And like I failed a lot of times and not was able to overcome those things,
mm,
and I've overcame so much in my life by just fighting. But I didn't have to fight this, you know. I had to just admit it that pride was in the way at the time, because I wasn't trying to depend on God. I was depending on myself because I was disappointed all my life. I was without somebody to help me through. But I realized, as long as I admitted that, and as long as because if you allow pride to get in your way, you become a slave to it.
yeah.
And and that's why as a man, like I realized allow it to seeing it for what it was. Now I understand that, I'm free from a lot of the pride and able to see confidence for what it was because pride can actually can make you think. Pride can actually make people's words on the outside in the world make their words to become true because but when I started to really see pride for what it was, their words wasn't true. It was false, you know, because God's words was true to me, and He was letting me know. He was showing me a lot of the people that I look up to, like the Deion Sanders, the Mike Tysons, the Bobby Browns, the all those guys have a confidence level that's through the roof. The cockiness, the I know I'm great type of, and that's my personality as well.
Mm.
Because once I started getting into what I was doing and what I'm doing now, and Jarhead and all that, I have a confidence level that's through the roof, and it's like that's when I tap into my real self. And
Right.
when you tap into your real self, you become greater than what is put out there, you know, and you become what God wants you to be instead of what the world wants you to be.
Yeah, I
And I
understand,
realized
man.
that, you
Yeah,
know,
it's
yeah, trying to be something that I'm not. I was trying to be something that I'm not at a young age, and I was like, nah, I want to be different. I want to be better because I knew getting up in age, I was going to lose myself before I even got myself, before I even learned who I was. How can you, if I didn't find out the identity of who I was going to lose myself. But how could I find myself, at the time if I lost myself, right?
mm,
So now, learning who God is, I found myself. I found my identity. I found who I am, and I see things more clear now, and understand more things, and become more patient with people now. You know what I mean? And now I'm more understanding of why things happened the way they did, and understanding of situation. So your book really helped me to see those things.
that's cool. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't really understand like the different manifestations of pride in their life, so it's hard for them to recognize it. Um, I don't really want to be better than anybody. Uh, I really just want to feel connected to the world around me, and I think it's like actually seeing the commonalities between me and everybody else around me that allows me to do that. Because as soon as I start like going on this sort of individualistic mindset, um, you know, that at its full extent leaves me feeling really isolated.
Right.
And I don't like that. So, yeah, I mean, pride, a lot of people associate pride with ego. And ego is just like the base sense of self. It's not really good or bad or anything like that. Pride is, like the inflated sense of self and the deflated sense of self. And I think some of the examples I gave like gives you a really good idea to sort of start taking a look at your life and seeing where you're either operating from inflated or deflated sense of self, and seeing how that does create some wreckage in your life, like creates emotional instability or creates wreckage in the lives of the people around you, because if I'm always needing to be right, or if I'm like imposing my will on people, or always trying to control and manage situations, or, needing to be selfish with my time, or I don't think that the rules apply to me, or I'm cutting corners, or I'm just judging people from up above. That's all inflated sense of self shit. And then the deflated sense of self, and that inflated sense of self like creates a lot of pain for people who have to deal with that. Like we're
Mhm.
fucking assholes. And then the
Mhm.
deflated sense of self is just all the victim shit, the self pity, the self centered fear that it's never going to work out for me, the I'm not good enough. If anybody knew who I was, like they, think I was a fraud. It's the part of me that like wants to manipulate everyone's perception of me because I feel like a piece of shit on the inside. It's, just not feeling comfortable in my own skin. It's separate from like a deficit. And that for me on a personal level just also isolates me and, makes me feel like shit too. So either way, I got to see that pride wasn't working for me, and a great level of pride besides God, please bear my pride before my pride buries me, and the awareness of it in the moment is just the practice of connecting to the people that are around me, like not just. So when I wrote this book, like I propose the idea of like talk to your partners about it, or your spouses, like read it with them or read it with your family members. But like what people are going to get the most out of is reading it with their perceived enemies, reading it with that boss that they think that they hate, reading it with that person they don't even know on the street that like in their mind they're judging, you know? Like the more people that you read it with, the more that you see the unity of us all, right?
Mm,
And that's like true connection to spirit. That's when you feel at one. That's when you feel at peace. That's when you feel like you're connected to divine purpose. I mean, that's really just the key to everything, you know?
mm. Yeah, man, this was ah got me choked up.
Oh,
Oh man. Hey, I mean, as long as you had fun tonight, as long as you had fun tonight, I'm cool.
always,
How was your
always.
how was it? How was your show today?
Are you asking me?
Yeah, that's you.
This show
This show.
is awesome, dude. It was a good conversation, man. And it's good to see you face to face and have this conversation. It's good. And I hope that, like, outside of the show, that we can just do more of this, just me and you talking. And if you want to, like, go through the book with me, I'm down to like do that an hour a week or whatever, just to like have that experience with you. I think it'd be cool.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. That'll work. That'll work, man. I got
Cool.
shit. I need more friends, man. I need more emotional shit. You know what I'm saying? I need some more of that.
Cool. Cool. I
But
get that.
let me take us out. Let me take us out of here. Because I know you got things to do. I know you're busy. So I gotta get you out of here. You know what I'm saying? Get you going.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So let me
Thank you
see.
for
Let me
having me.
always, brother, always. You know it.
Yeah.
So thank y'all for watching. I want y'all to hit like and subscribe to the channel and to get all that is the in your face show. And we out. Peace.